Hello everyone, welcome to my full walkthrough of the GCPD Lockdown DLC for Batman Arkham Knight with no damage, no combo loss, and no restarts. And this is a decent piece of content. I mean, compared to Harley Quinn's DLC, I actually enjoy this a little bit more, even if Harley Quinn's DLC is a little bit longer than this one. But Nightwing is just a better fighter and a better predator compared to Harley Quinn. And one thing I will say though is compared to Harley Quinn's DLC, the music for the GCPD Lockdown is just reused music from the main game of Batman Arkham Knight, whereas the music in Harley Quinn's DLC is an entirely new piece of music reserved for that DLC. And it makes you wonder if Warner Brothers had actually developed Harley Quinn's DLC and not Rocksteady, because I mean they developed the Matter of Family DLC and they had a very different soundtrack, but of course people mainly attribute Warner Brothers to developing a Batman game when it comes to problems that Rocksteady Batman games apparently don't have, when in actuality Warner Brothers, they have very similar issues with the combat systems and with the Predator systems, just like with Rocksteady, so I don't know why people are trying to make this kind of distinction. But that's what leads me to believe that Warner Brothers was the one that made Harley Quinn's DLC, whereas this DLC with Nightwing, it feels like it was developed by Rocksteady. Just based on the choice of tone, just based on the music, and just based on the fact that they're using assets from the game. And we've just done those combat encounters, which are pretty simple, although for the first combat encounter, I had one moment where my fear takedown failed, and I've included it as a blooper. And then this Predator encounter right here, this is a very simple Predator encounter, and the pattern is always the same. Aside from one rare instance that I'm going to showcase in the blooper section, where for whatever reason, one guy who is supposed to be standing still is looking in a direction he is not supposed to be looking at. So my path to get to the bottom level is completely cut off in that blooper section. And it didn't happen in this recording. That was actually the successful attempt at this. But I don't know why that happened. That has never happened before. And just like Seraphim 17, we both stumble upon weird things when we actually start recording. When we're not recording, we never encounter any of these weird things. Seems rather odd. It's almost like fate just plays a hand against us when we start recording these games. And fate decided to screw me in that one rare instance of me trying to record GCPD Lockdown, where this one guy on the left, not this guy, it's the guy to the very left, he, for some reason, is standing still and he's looking in the wrong direction. But come down to this level right over here, wait for that guy to move, and just hide on this corner. This guy is always going to come over here, so do the corner takedown. And then the other guy, when he comes back, do the corner takedown from the corner directly in front of you. But do you see the guy right there on the left? If I move the camera a little bit more, you'll actually see him. But he's supposed to be looking to my right, basically, like where Nightwing is facing right now. He's supposed to be looking in that direction. But for whatever reason, in my other recording, he was looking in the direction of where I came from the stairs. And I have no idea why he did that. That was the one weird instance I had when I was recording this DLC. But aside from that, this DLC was pretty simple. But the rooftop encounter, I did mess up a couple of times because the enemy arrangement for the rooftop encounter just throws me off a couple of times. When I'm dealing with brutes, when I'm dealing with guys with swords, and I'm dealing with stun rod guys, there's definitely moments where the combat can mess me up because of the choice of enemy arrangement. But this Predator encounter is very simple. But given that this is a rather lengthy piece of content compared to the previous ones, I mean, aside from Harley Quinn's DLC, can I just say that this DLC, for whatever reason, has a huge case of ludonarrative dissonance, more so than in the previous DLCs. Like, this is meant to be a lighter-toned DLC because we're playing as Nightwing, who's a very upbeat character compared to Batman, and he's getting in all these conversations with Lucius that are meant to be, like, evoking a sense of fun to them. And then at the end of this DLC, Penguin is captured by Nightwing, and he's brought to Aaron Cash, and Aaron Cash is just letting out some words of comedic value towards Penguin, where he's literally teasing him and just making fun of him when he says, "This place hasn't been the same without you." But it's juxtaposed with dead bodies of police officers during this Predator encounter. And the whole time I do this Predator encounter, I'm just like, why are you guys telling jokes when there are dead bodies of police officers littered throughout this Predator encounter? Do you guys really consider the lives of those police officers to be so insignificant and forgettable that you just feel it's appropriate to be cracking jokes during this time? And this DLC, with the way the thugs behave, with the way it really tries to portray this very simple scenario of the hero dominating the villain in a very comedic fashion, it's trying to portray that, but then you're putting dead bodies of police officers in this area as if, like, they're just that insignificant. Like, it doesn't sit right with me. And people want to say Uncharted has a lot of ludonarrative dissonance, but it doesn't compare to this level of ludonarrative dissonance displayed by Nightwing and the other police officers in the lockup area when they're busy telling jokes while there are dead police officers being killed by Penguin's thugs when they're trying to break him out of jail. That seriously just makes me wonder what the hell the writing team was doing at Rocksteady. It's almost like originally this was going to be a darker tone DLC, but then they swapped it out for a lighter tone DLC to really convey how different Gotham feels without Batman. But they just completely left in the assets from their previous model of this entire Predator encounter. And they didn't think it was wise to actually remove those dead bodies so that the lighter tone wouldn't feel so compromised and just weird. It doesn't sit right with me, guys. I don't know if you guys noticed, and like, I didn't even notice dead bodies when I was watching Batman Arkham videos do this walkthrough of the GCPD lockdown area. So I didn't even know there were dead bodies around here, but the many times I've done this DLC and I've seen those dead bodies of the police officers throughout this Predator encounter, and then it's juxtaposed with Nightwing, Lucius, Penguin, and the Penguin thugs just telling jokes. That right there is just ludonarrative dissonance at its finest, to a degree that is way more severe than anything in Uncharted. And ludonarrative dissonance has been a thing since gaming first began, but people want to say Uncharted is the one that started ludonarrative dissonance, when there are way more games out there where the protagonist or villains are just busy telling jokes when there are dead bodies everywhere and you're killing so many people. So that's just a complete fallacy when people are saying that Uncharted was the first game ever to introduce the whole idea of ludonarrative dissonance. And this game has definitely one-upped the stupidity in ludonarrative dissonance, and it is funny, but at the same time very concerning if Rocksteady is going to be that oblivious to the idea that they're telling jokes when there are dead bodies of police officers around. Like, the Arkham games generally have no ludonarrative dissonance, but this DLC with its ludonarrative dissonance really doesn't sit right with me, and it's just so out of the blue. And once again, it's a complete extension of Rocksteady's lack of care towards Batman Arkham Knight and its DLCs. This DLC does nothing for the main story of Batman Arkham Knight, and it feels very throwaway. But I've just done this DLC, and here are a couple of moments where the ludonarrative dissonance really shows itself. And he's like, oh, sod off. And then we have this one where Cash is just telling jokes around Penguin, and he's just making fun of him when there are dead officers littered throughout the environment. That is just so silly on so many levels. But here's a blooper. So this is the case where this guy is looking off in this direction, so he cuts off my path. And then this part right here, the fear takedown fails. There's a guy right there. The chairs aren't blocking me. They're not supposed to be blocking me. But apparently, during this recording, the game classed those chairs as being geometry, so it cut off my ability to do the fear takedown. I lost the combo, and I had to restart. Very unfortunate, and that was the only time it happened, but every other moment, I've been able to jump over those chairs to do the fear takedown. Why it was so different in this case, I don't know. But that is the end of this DLC. Stay tuned for the future DLCs. Thank you all for watching, and you take care now.